Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today I've got Justin Erhart of Premium Hunts out of Eager, Arizona on the line. Justin, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Jay?
Good. We both just got back from Mexico. We're in a little bit of a Mexico lull, but I figured we would get on the phone with the Arizona Elk and Antelope applications coming up and talk a little bit about Unit 1 and 27 for elk. First off, how you doing this morning?
Doing good. Glad to be back. It was a fun trip down south, but it's always good to be home.
For sure. When I came out, I think I came out a day earlier than you, and the road, make a long story short, the roads were snowed in down in Mexico. How was your travel back up to your hometown?
The roads were pretty good most of the way, and then that last about 40 miles, the roads went pretty bad. Got some pretty good snow up top, so it was good.
That's good. So, Justin, before we went to Mexico, the conditions all across the state of Arizona, including in your country, we've been in an extreme drought, and then we had a really good storm that statewide, put anywhere from 6 to 30 inches of snow and even more in some places. Does the last storm that we had change any of your outlook for Arizona elk upcoming, or do you think it's still too early to predict because of one storm?
I think this storm saved us from having an absolutely terrible year. It's probably right as of right now. I wouldn't say it's going to be an exceptional year by any means with this moisture, but it saved us from having a terrible year, in my opinion.
And where you're at there, the Eager Springerville area, it's kind of the hub of Unit 1 and 27, kind of sandwiched right there between them. Right there in town, it sounds like you guys only got 6 or 8 inches. What about up on the mountain? What are you hearing? What are you seeing up there?
Right here in town, I'd say we only got about 3 or 4 here at my place, but on top of the mountain, it's about 20 inches off of this storm is what we got.
They're calling for an additional storm tomorrow, anywhere from 50 to 70% chance of rain and snow. Would you agree that, well, this is my opinion, you don't have to agree or what have you, but if we can continue to get a few storms on top of what we've got, it will help, and it could take, like what you said, potentially a catastrophic year of bad antler growth and body condition and actually turn it around. Do you believe that the animals can rebound fairly quickly?
Yeah, definitely. With the late moisture like this in the year, it really is about timing. Once the grass has enough sunlight and heat to grow, it's with that moisture, it's going to be good for the elk and deer and everything else. Yeah,
for sure. It's one of those things that as elk hunters, we all want to have those, antlers as big as possible and have the elk in as good a condition as possible so that the bugling is fantastic and we can have great hunts. But we definitely can't control the weather. We can only just do with what we're dealt. But I was dang sure happy to see this storm come in, and I'm happy to see, another follow-up storm, moisture on top of moisture, to potentially try and get us out of the position that we were in before the storm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a storm like this is why I always recommend everybody waits till at least February 1st before turning in their applications, because that this one storm changed a lot of recommendations in my eyes.
For sure. I'm looking at the Go Hunt Insider and looking at the Unit 1 and Unit 27 point totals that it takes to draw. First, the season dates of September 10th through the 23rd. I also looked at the moon phase, and it looks like the moon, if we're trying to kind of split hairs, if you will, the moon is full on the 20th of September. So when the hunt starts, it'll be 3 days after a new moon on the 10th. And I think as the moon, if you will, is growing up until the end of the hunt, I think it's actually a really good moon phase for those season dates, because the September 10th is actually an early start. How do you predict, say, the bugling will be with the September 10th start date?
I think it'll be slow. I mean,
a slow start.
Generally, be slow that time of year and pick up. This last year, it was a terrible rut. And I don't know if that was due to the lack of moisture we had through the monsoon season or the moon phase or what it all contributed to, but it was a terrible rut year for us.
When I look at the amount of points that it takes on the Go Hunt Insider here, it looks as though for a non-resident, 1, 2B, and 2C takes 18 points to be quote-unquote guaranteed a tag. And then Unit 27 is exactly the same. It has 18 points to be guaranteed a tag. With that being said, if you're a non-resident with 18 points and you have a choice between 1 and 27, and it looks like you could draw either one of them, which one do you lean towards, or do you tell hunters, to go for?
You know what? I'm over the last 2 years, I've kind of been changed my mind a little bit. I would tell everybody be putting in for Unit 1. 27's just been getting really overgrown with locust on top of the mountain, and it has just impacted the hunt quality big time. I think a lot of the elk have actually, seems like a lot of them have left the unit and gone back into Unit 1, and Unit 1 archery elk it's kind of back to being so much better than 27 in my opinion.
And it's
there's always going to be your sleeper, a couple giant bulls in Unit 27 that may or may not surface throughout the season, but overall you're going to have a lot more action and a higher number of quality bulls in Unit 1.
Is the locust because of the fire and it's kind of taken over after the wallow fire has gone through? Is that what's happened?
Yep. And now it's just so thick and overgrown. I mean, there's places that are literally just inaccessible.
How does that, so as far as access, getting around, numbers of elk, you think Unit 1, if you have the same amount of point totals, you would lean towards Unit 1 as a first choice and a 27 potentially as a second choice. With that being said, though, there's still and always will be a couple of good bulls in 27 because of how rough of terrain it is.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, and we get away from a lot of the locust and a lot of the burn country. 27 is a huge unit, and you can get in to those more remote areas where there is no locust and there's a lot less people. But when you do that, you're also getting into areas with a lot less elk. But that's, you could turn up a giant in some of those areas. You
guys, historically, I just always have been admiring your photos after every season. You guys continually shoot big bulls. Do you think the bulls of yesterday, so to speak, in Unit 1, and 27, do you think the quality has slipped a little bit, or do you think it's every bit as good as it was?
No, quality is definitely down. I mean, compared to, from 2012 to 2016, quality is nowhere even in the same realm as those first few years after the fire. But if we're talking pre-fire, I'd say we're still behind on quality. They're still just putting out too many tags, in my opinion, to really keep that great quality around.
And is it the tags overall in general on the archery elk season, or would you say it's more a late tag number situation that has dropped the age class?
It's probably a combination of both, but I would say it's probably going to be more contributed to the late season.
Let's talk a little bit about last year and your hunts that you had. You guys killed a couple really good bulls. Talk about a couple of those higher end bulls that you guys were able to get.
Well, I mean, almost every bull on that higher end scale that we got, we've had, multiple year runs with, and just finally were able to capitalize on some of them. We took some bulls out of some sleeper units that, some of the guys like Willie has been watching one of them for a few years now. And this year he finally slipped up and they capitalized on him, at the drop of a hat. And it's just all that year to year intel, it can pay off big on a tough year like that.
Yeah, and antler growth last year was okay, but the problem and the issue was the fact that the lack of the summer rains, the bugling was just off. Is that correct?
Correct. And the amount of broken bulls I've seen this year was by far the most I've ever seen on any other year. And I think that has something to do with the lack of summer moisture as well.
Well, we just got off, Mexico, and I've never seen so many broken points in Mexico. I think that is the same issue. I think you've got, lack of good summer rains, and the bone density in the antler just wasn't as strong as normal. And so when those elk or when those Coues deer that I'm talking about in Mexico get to fighting, they just break points like crazy.
Yep, I agree 100% with that.
Let's talk a little bit about, you've got the archery seasons, you've got the early firearm seasons in 1 and 27. Is there a early firearm season that you prefer over the other, comparing, 1 and 27?
They're both pretty dang good. One, though, you're going to have a lot more options, and you're going to be able to put your eyes on a lot more bulls than, say, unit 27, just because the numbers are higher over there, and you're going to be able to access a lot more of the unit very easily. So I would probably lean towards a unit 1 early hunt as opposed to a 27.
It sounds like I've talked to you in years past and you were pretty high on 27, but it definitely sounds like you're down on 27 a little bit for those early hunts.
Yep, and that's basically just because of how the last couple of years have played out. I mean, it's been pretty rough these last 2 years. The bow hunts in 27, they've been super slow. Like I said, the locust has overgrown most of the top of the mountain, and in that time of the year, all the leaves are still on it, so you can't even see into it. You're trying to look through just a jungle, a mess. It's terrible, but I suspect it'll bounce back, and it'll probably take that first place in my eyes here again sometime in the next few years. But as of right now, I think I'm putting unit 1 before 27 on early archery and early rifle.
I'm looking at the Go Hunt Insider here, and it looks like unit 27 muzzleloader. It takes 23 points as a non-resident, and the early rifle in unit 1 2B 2C looks like it takes 25 points to get that tag. We've talked about it before, but unit 1 has 2B and 2C as well that you can hunt. What percentage would you say on the archery and say on these early hunts do bulls actually get harvested in 2B and 2C, and then how much would actually get harvested out of unit 1?
I would say on the archery hunts, I would say probably 99% of your bulls are going to be taken in unit 1. I personally can't even think of anybody who's ever capitalized on a bull out there in unit 2B or 2C during the archery hunt that was also inclusive with unit 1. Not to say it wouldn't be something that you could find a big old bull out there on, but your numbers and densities are so low, and there's a lot of private land to work around, so it would be a grind for sure.
Okay, let's bump over to the late archery. So there are some late archery tags in Unit 1, and the date's November 5th through November 18th. And it looks like, according to Go Hunt Insider, 10 points as a non-resident would get you the tag in Unit 1, and then it looks like 9 points would get you the tag in 27. How difficult and challenging are those hunts, and do you guide those late archery hunts?
Yeah, we do guide them, and they are a grind. I mean, it depends on the conditions of the hunter, but I mean, if you're going to try and spot and stalk bulls on that late archery hunt, I mean, you better be in for the long haul and be ready for an all-out grind, because it is tough, and it's something that will humble you very, very quickly. These are hunts we've been successful on, but they are tough.
What about if it did get dry around that time frame? Can you sit some water? Could an archer expect to sit some water, or is it just not really set up for sitting water?
You know, I mean, even on those dry years like this year, it was super dry during that time frame, and you know, we still have quite a bit of natural groundwater around, so it's not like a unit, you know, like 9 or 10 where there's not anything but water catchments and very little groundwater. I mean, we've got creeks and streams in almost, you know, every little cut or drainage. There's a spring seeping out somewhere, so water's not really going to be huge unless you're in the right area at the right time.
Okay. Let's bounce over and talk about Unit 1 and 27 on the late hunts. And a lot of times those late hunts, you guys really shine on the late hunts. Talk a little bit about the two units and that late hunt.
Yeah, the late hunts are some of the best hunts of the year. You know, a lot of people, you know, they hear that, oh, it's the late season rifle hunt, and they kind of frown upon it. But, man, these are some of the best hunts in the state, in my opinion. You know, basically getting the first and only crack at all the bulls with a rifle is good. But the downfall to it is there is getting to be more and more pressure in a lot of areas, you know, so you're going to be competing with quite a few people, and sometimes you're going to be bumping into people multiple times a day in certain areas, and that, you know, it just kind of takes away from the quality of the hunt, I would say.
When pre-fire, when 27 was thick and you couldn't glass it really well, a lot of those elk would go to 27, and would you agree that that's what kept Unit 1 and 27's quality high as well, is that they did have refuge to get into some of that rough country, but you couldn't really glass them, so they did have the ability to sneak away and not get shot, and that's why, in my mind, potentially the quality has slipped because of the fire in 27 and 1. Now those bulls in the late season don't have that thick timber to hide in, and it made it great for late season elk hunting because you could see them, but over time it's kind of taken its toll on the quality.
Absolutely. I mean, that's without a doubt the largest contributing factor to the slip in quality in both units, and you know, one of those units directly affects the other. You know, if you're killing lots of bulls out of 27, you know, a lot of those bulls will go rut in Unit 1, and they'll come back and they'll be back in 27 on the late rifle hunt. So, you know, you're really pounding out both units when you're hitting one hard. It's going to take its toll on both of them.
I'm looking at the Go Hunt Insider on the late hunt portion, and it looks like 13 points is a guaranteed for 1 and 13 points is a guaranteed for 27. So again, we're in the same position where if you have, you know, it takes the same amount of points. Which one would you tell people to put as their first choice, 1 or 27 for that late hunt?
If the person can handle some putting on a few miles every day in some pretty challenging terrain, then I would say 27 all day long over Unit 1. on the late rifle hunt.
And I also looked up the moon chart for that time frame, and I'm looking at it right here. It is full on November 19th, and so these seasons start on the 26th. Though you're dealing with a last moon situation where you've got a fairly dark moon. It could be a really good time frame for that late season. And I know maybe overanalyze, but certainly it's better having a slight moon rather than having a full moon on those late elk hunts. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, the less moon we have, it seems to me, is always going to be the better if it's during the hunt.
Let's talk. Do you do antelope at all in Unit 1 or any of the units around there, or do you primarily just focus on the elk?
We mostly just focus on the elk. We will get into the antelope here and there, but the tags are so limited, and it's just nothing. We don't have the high-end quality like some of the other units in Arizona, so we don't really hit it that hard. They're all just average antelope.
While I have you on the phone, you guys also guide for elk in New Mexico. Talk about, if people are interested, talk about some of the units that you guys like, and let me know and the listeners know if opportunities exist to hunt with you guys in New Mexico.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lot of opportunity to hunt with us in New Mexico. We're based right here on the Arizona-New Mexico state line. So we kind of get to hunt the best of both worlds, in my opinion. We're hunting most of the Gila units in New Mexico. So we're all the 16s, 15, 12, 13, 18. I mean, we hunt a lot of different units. And we're hunting all the species in New Mexico as well. So from anything from ibex to sheep to the Barbary sheep, I mean, elk, deer, antelope, we're all over. But there's a lot of opportunity over there from the draw to landowner tags. So, if anybody's wanting to get in on that draw as well, the deadline for New Mexico is going to be in March.
Okay.
And they can give me a call anytime, and love to chat with them and get them squared away.
That sounds good. So from your perspective as an outfitter, you're just telling people, keep watching the weather. This storm could potentially have really, really helped the dire situation that was prior to this storm because of literally no moisture. So I guess final concluding thoughts, you think that if we can continue to get some timely storms that we almost in essence could be bailed out a little bit from what was going to be?
Yes, definitely. And the same goes for kind of New Mexico. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been telling everybody wait till at least February 1st before applying because we might get hit with something good, as far as moisture. And now for New Mexico, I'm telling everybody let's catch up March 1st and see how February treats us. Because, I mean, one more big storm like this, and it could sway my hunt choices big time.
Yeah. Well, Justin, it's always great talking to you on the podcast about your home units up there, born and raised, and I want to give you a chance to let the listeners know how they can follow along, how they can contact you. I also appreciate the sponsors of the podcast, Go Hunt Insider. Guys, if you're not a Go Hunt Insider member, go to gohunt.com/jscott. You can sign up right there for an insider membership. Also, KUIU Ultralight Hunting, that's the gear that I wear on all of my hunts. Go to kuiu.com. You can order, it's a direct-to-consumer website. You can order the gear right there. And then phonescope.com. Use the JScott21 promo code. You're going to get a 10% discount there. Justin, why don't you tell us how the best way to follow you and and get a hold of you, and I'll also link it up in the show notes.
Yeah, guys, if any of you want to give me a call, you can reach me anytime at 928-245-8722, or you can follow along on Instagram or Facebook, message us on either one of those. Our Instagram is premium_hunts, and Facebook, you'll find us as Premium Hunts. So look us up and give us a call or a message anytime if you have any questions at all.
Awesome, buddy. Well, congrats on your great buck in Mexico. A great shot, and it's always fun getting down there and chasing rutting deer, and it's amazing. Before I even get home, I'm already looking forward to going back next year, and I know you're the same way. So congrats again on a great buck, and we'll be chatting at you down the road here.
Yep. Thanks again, Jay, and we look forward to Mexico again.
All right. God bless.
Thanks. Bye.